Welcome to Carolina Varsity's 2012 look at the NCHSAA playoffs. I'm here tonight with Matt, and first we're going to go over the games that we attended. I guess I can start. I went to the Olympic McDowell game. Wasn't from the score, it wasn't much of a ball game, 42-0. I got to say, it's the ugliest shutout I've ever seen in my life. And that's what Coach Schuford said. You know, that was his first comment to me after the game was, that's the ugliest shutout I've ever seen. McDowell, I don't know their official stats, but they had over 200 yards rushing. They ran the ball very well. But they couldn't score. And, you know, I hate to say it, but it's all about the coaching decisions. And, you know, when you run the ball, and you're getting positive yardage, and you're moving down into the red zone, why would you change that? And of course, they threw the ball, had a pick, and then later they again moved the ball well and had a pick down in the end zone. They had the ball 4th and goal. Obvious they weren't going to get in on a touchdown, but they went for it anyway instead of kicking a field goal. I understand that from looking at film that they always go for 2, so they must not have a field goal kicker. So it was a big rushing night for Olympic. Olympic didn't throw the ball much, but Harris had 235 yards, I think, 2 touchdowns. Garcia had 110 yards on 2 touchdowns as well. And to be honest with you, I thought he had a better game. He carried the ball maybe half as much. He seemed to stand out more for some reason. I told him after the game that he asked me how did things look, and I said, well, I think you played better than Harris. And then I found out Harris had 2 touchdowns. I thought he'd only had 1. But anyway, 42-0. That was a MAC team coming down, and pretty much everything that we said would happen, I think, happened in that ball game. I wasn't surprised.
Yeah, I went over to Vance High School, Vance Myers Park. A lot of talk on the board said this would probably be one of the better games to go to, and for the most part, it was a 2-score game for most of the game. Vance got out well. They had a good start. One point they were up 26-3 in the first half. Myers Park got a turnover right before halftime, and got a nice touchdown pass from Ross Jeffries to Shaquille O'Brien. Nice catch in the corner end zone. Cut it 16 at halftime. Myers Park got the ball coming out second half. Scored again. Cut it to 9. Momentum was on Myers Park's side. And wrote the story on the homepage at CarolinaVarsity.com. First down on that next series, Vance got a big loss. And I think next play after that was the play of the game, because second down, Vance went to a bootleg play action pass they had a lot of success with. Ladder, the quarterback, would fake one way, boot back to the left, and Bryant would be open in the flat. And they ran. It was 26-17. Vance had just had a big loss on first down, and what I believe was the play of the game was a second down play call. Vance was running this bootleg play action pass where Ladder would fake, and then he would roll out, and Bryant would sneak out into the flat. And this was a big play for them all night long, and they hit it 4 or 5 times. And they ran this play on 2nd and long, and I believe Bryant got the ball and took up the field and got about maybe 30, 35 yards in that play. Switched field position. Vance ended up scoring on that drive, making it 33-17. And after that, Vance's defense, you know, pretty much took over the game. Pass rush was real impressive. They forced Jeffries to hold the ball for a long time. He would try to scramble out and make plays, but it was hard for Myers Park to get something going consistently. Early 4th quarter, Myers Park drove the ball deep into Vance territory. Had a 4th and 2 with about 11 minutes left, and they called a timeout, and they tried to run a zone read play, but Jeffries and the running back Alexander didn't seem to be on the same page with the mesh. Forced a fumble, and from that point on, Vance pretty much controlled the game. They got a cheap touchdown with a minute left to make the score 40-17, but it was pretty much a 2-score game, second half going forward. I think it was a good season for Myers Park. They ended up 6-6, but they're a pretty young team. They're going to lose Jeffries. They're going to lose a couple other seniors that are valuable to them. But the core of the team's going to come back. And I think Coach Taylor's going to have a couple more good years with those guys. Vance is moving on to play Mallard Creek. And we'll talk about that one a little later. But that's what we had on Friday night.
Okay, I think that game went almost as I thought it might. I had picked Vance to win that ball game. I thought Myers Park might put up a few more points. Sounds like that Vance front seven did a job in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and I did pick Myers Park, so I'm sorry to the Vance fans. But the pass rush for Vance made the difference in my opinion. And let's get this out there now. Vance's secondary did have some interceptions. I know there's been a lot of talk about Vance's secondary not producing, not playing that well, but they played well, and they forced turnovers with the help of the pass rush. So let's give credit where credit is due.
So that was going to be my next question, because I've seen Vance in the Independence game, in the Butler game, and against Mallard Creek, and in all three games, well, actually the first game, the Independence game, for some reason, and I shouldn't say for some reason, Vance's front seven put a lot of pressure on Independence, and they were not able to throw the ball. But Butler picked that defense apart, and then of course Mallard Creek and North had a pretty big night as well. So that was going to be my question. So it sounds like Vance has pulled it together.
Yeah, they did. On defense, they played very well. Offensively, for Vance's play calling, they really are throwing the ball more. I think Coach Wilkes has learned that you can't just run in a 4AA here in Charlotte. You got to be a little more balanced. And Mallard Creek is not ready for the pass. Vance hit some big plays against Myers Park, mainly off of play action. So that's one thing I think if you're going to Vance Mallard Creek, you can look out for that.
Well, we'll have a little more to talk about on that when we get to the game. Just some other games of note, things that caught my interest. The scores were flying across Friday night. And I was really shocked when I saw Marvin Ridge up 12-0 on Catholic.
Yes.
You know, to see Catholic come back and pull that out wasn't too big of a shock, but you know, Marvin Ridge did a very good job of holding Catholic down to 15 points. That's very impressive. I understand Hood did have a good night, but didn't find the end zone as much.
I'll tell you one that shocked me, and I'm thinking it shocked the city of Charlotte. That was Huff and West Meck.
Yes.
No one saw West Meck going up to Huff and beating them 45-10. And I'll say this now. I apologize to Vance. I will apologize to West Meck. They went up there and they totally dominated. From people that went to the game, they said West Meck's running game, they controlled the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Sean Wilson had 267 yards on 20 carries. And they just did a great job.
Yeah, from some feedback I've gotten, it sounds like Huff may have thrown the ball a little too much, didn't run the ball. Of course, we were told they were without two of their running backs, so no excuses. You got to have kids in the wings to step up or some other game plan. We called a tight game when we discussed last week. We said another good game in the area to go catch would be North Forsyth and Kannapolis.
Oh, yeah.
And Pete had that game in his pocket there towards the end, and Kannapolis was able to pull that one out. But that was another, I think, good, maybe not a surprise, but a game that kind of matched what we thought it would be.
Definitely, definitely. Looking over the list here, Independence Northwest Guilford. A lot of us had that game being interesting for a little while, but ended up 45-42, and I have to say I was surprised at that one myself. Northwest Guilford came down, and apparently they ran the ball very well on Independence, and going forward, Independence is playing Butler again, and I don't know if that's a good sign. Or
Well, if you remember my statement last week, Northwest Guilford played East Forsyth to, was it 28-24 ball game just a few weeks earlier. So they're obviously somewhat on par with East Forsyth. We called a kind of an upset. I think in the books we look at it probably wasn't, but the score played out that Sun Valley went up to TCR.
Oh, yeah.
And that Thunderbird kid who, the first time I saw him last year as a freshman, just totally impressed me. And he ripped off a 70-yard run last play of regulation to win that ball game.
And I'll tell you, that's a heck of a way to end the game. And if you're a Sun Valley fan, to make that trip and for it to go that way, that's awesome. And the Thunderbird kid, I'm with you. I call him the top 5 running back in the area. And he proved it, and that's great for them. And they're going on to play South Caldwell in the game we'll talk about a little later. But I like the chances.
Okay.